Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Home Physio by Nicola. My name is Nicola Coburn and I am the owner and senior specialist physiotherapist in Home Physio by Nicola. I have more than 15 years experience in the area of neurological and care of the elderly physiotherapy. I have developed this channel as a source of education for those out in the community for tips of the week, so physiotherapy tips of the week to try and help improve your quality of life and make things a little bit easier. So this is tip 5, okay, and the tip today is going to be the best way to get up from the floor following a fall. Okay, so if you want to ensure that you don't ever miss a tip of the week, if you could subscribe to the channel, give me a like and turn on notifications, you will be able to see the tip of the week every week throughout the year, and hopefully you'll find this information useful. So why are we talking about falls? So our last tip of the week was talking about, do you have a falls action plan? Okay, what would happen if you were to have a fall? Have you thought about the sort of things that you would need to have in place to make things just that little bit less stressful? And we're going over today, what is the best way to get up from the floor? Now, the reason that we're discussing falls is because 1 in 3 people who are over the age of 65 will have at least one fall every year, okay? Which is quite an interesting statistic. And what we as physiotherapists are trying to do is talk about falls prevention, but also falls management, okay? To try to see if we can improve that statistic. And also, a fall is the main reason or most common reason for people calling an ambulance in those who are over the age of 65. And in Scotland, at least 18,000 people per year will be admitted to hospital following a fall. Okay, so that's just a little bit of facts around the subject of falls and why it's so important for us to think about these principles and also to try and prevent. Okay, so back to the tip of the week today. So tip 5 is the best way to rise from the floor following a fall. Okay, so I'm going to do a bit of a demonstration and I will talk you through the steps to consider, okay, with each step that we go through. So I'm just going to adjust my camera so that we can come down a little bit. Okay, and I'm going to have a fall. Okay, so unfortunately, I've had a fall. Okay, so what is the first thing that I'm going to do? The first step is, how do I summon help? Okay, so if I had a border care alarm pendant, I would press the button so that I could summon help from them and they would talk me through the steps to do. If I carried my mobile phone in my pocket, I could pull it out and I could summon help in that degree as well. So the first thing in our falls action plan is, how do I summon help? Okay. So I've summoned help and I've notified somebody that I'm on the floor. The first thing after that is to think, okay, I'm on the floor, I can't fall any further. So it's about taking a bit of a deep breath and trying to remain as calm as possible so that you can plan the following steps for getting up from the floor. Okay, so I've summoned help. The next step is to think about, step 2 is, can I check to see if I've had any injuries? Okay, and the way to do that is to try to move your joints. A lot of the time once you've had a fall, you just want to freeze because you're in shock, okay? So it's about taking a deep breath and thinking, okay, can I move my arms? Can I move my legs? Can I bring my knees up towards me? Okay, can I take my leg out to the side and the other side? Okay, if I was to be in any extreme pain with any of those movements, I would be thinking, okay, I've had a significant injury, okay? In that instance, that's where you would want to, again, try to remain calm. You would await your help to arrive, but during that time, you would want to try to keep yourself warm because your body will be in shock. So if this was the case and I was close to a blanket, I'd be able to pull this blanket down, cover my body and remain warm. Okay. The other thing to do is, if you've had an injury, is to try to keep the joints that aren't injured moving, okay? So I would try to keep my head moving, I would try to keep my arms moving if I'd injured my hip, say for instance, and the leg that wasn't injured, I would try to keep that moving and just try to take the pressure off my bottom on that side. And so we're trying to prevent any pressure areas while we're waiting on help arriving, okay? So that's if you've had an injury and you feel you can't move, okay. But I'm going for the other scenario now. Okay, so I have summoned help. I have checked for injuries and I don't feel that I've had any significant injuries. I'm not in any extreme pain. Okay, so what is the next step for us to do? So the next step would be for you to bend both of your knees up, okay? And this is going to show you the easiest way to rise from the floor. So I bend both my knees up, so it's a shorter lever for us to move, okay? I would then turn my head to the side and I would bring my arm over and I would roll over onto my side. Okay, once I was on my side, I would then see if I could come up onto my elbow, okay? And then the aim is to try and get onto all fours. So I would come up onto that hip and would then try to push up through this arm and up through this hip to come up onto all fours. Okay, so I'm up onto all fours now. Now the reason we get up onto all fours is so that we can then crawl to the closest armchair to make it easier for us to rise from the floor. Okay, we don't want to be trying to do a bum shuffle over, okay, if possible. But if it was to be too difficult for you to rise up onto all fours, you could do a bit of a bum shuffle to get closer to the chair. Okay, if you needed to have a bit of support to come up onto your knees. But if not, if you're able to get onto all fours, that is the sort of easiest way to do it. So I'm going to crawl over to the armchair. Once I get to the armchair, I'm going to put my elbows up and just have a bit of a rest, okay? All of these steps don't have to be completed at speed. You can take it nice and gently and you take a staged approach so that you feel that you're remaining calm throughout, okay? So I'm over towards the chair. The next step, and this is the most important step to remember, okay? And the way I like to get my patients to remember it is a proposal stance, okay? It's important that you get your knee closest to the chair up, so that's the easiest way for you to get your bottom up onto the chair. So I would then bring my leg that was closest to the chair up, so that I'm in this now open kneeling position, and it's my leg closest to the chair that is up. Okay, sometimes you might need to guide that leg forward, okay? Then following this, I've got the arm of the chair where I can push up on and then just slide my bottom up onto the chair. So I'm going to put my weight forward onto the knee that's pushing me up, and I'm going to just slide my bottom up onto the chair. And then sit back into the chair and rest, okay? Because your body will be quite stressed out by that. Now, I fully understand that those of us out there who say have got problems with their back, their hips or their knees may be thinking, okay, I really don't think I'd be able to get into that position, or that being on all fours would be just far too uncomfortable. If that was the case, then when you were coming over to the chair and doing that sort of bum shuffle, okay, then what you would want to do is again thinking about coming over onto that hip if you can, to then push up on the arm of the chair. So you're close by to the arm of the chair and you're going to come up, so you're kind of pushing up through that hip and not putting too much weight through the knee, and then seeing if you can get that knee up closest to the chair to then push and slide. Because if you try to come up from this position, and I can't even do this, if you do a bum shuffle, and the majority of people think about doing it this way, is you get both elbows onto the chair and you think, okay, I'm coming up, but you get stuck halfway, okay? Because you think, oh, how can I bring my feet backwards? That burns up so much energy, and it's even, I mean, I'm even getting a puff. So much energy to try and get yourself up that way. So, to go over those things again, okay, we roll onto our side. We come up onto all fours. We crawl over to the chair. We put our hands on the arms of the chair. Our knee that's closest to the chair comes up and through, and then we put our weight forward onto our leg and slide our bottom up onto the chair. Okay, so that is the easiest way to rise from the floor. And it doesn't necessarily have to be if you've had a fall. Say you like to do yoga exercises on the floor, or you like to be on the floor with the children, and you think, oh, getting up on the floor is really effortful. Please use that tip to help. And it takes a strain off of your back, it uses less energy for you to rise, and it's one of the safest ways to do it because you're in an open kneeling position. Therefore you have a large base of support, so the chances of you falling back down are very, very small. So you've risen from the floor, okay, you've summoned help. What do we do now? Okay, so the following steps are vital, okay? So if you've had a fall and you've had to use those tips to rise from the floor, that's not the end point, okay? If you've had a fall, it is vital that you contact your GP or that you contact a healthcare professional, okay? So that could be your physiotherapist, your occupational therapist, your care team. It's really important that you notify somebody that you have had this fall. And the reason for that is because if you had a fall, there will be a reason behind why you've had that fall, okay? And our responsibility as healthcare professionals would be to do what we call a multi-factorial falls risk assessment with you, so that we could then have a look at all these different things which kind of encompass fear of falling. So after you've had a fall, in your subconscious mind you will be fearful of that happening again, because it's a very stressful situation to be through. Okay, we would have a look at your movement and your balance. Is there leg weakness? Is there balance issues here that caused or contributed to your fall? From the medical side of things, they would look at what we call polypharmacy. So they would do a medication review with you to find out if there's any side effects to the medications that you were taking which could have contributed towards your fall. Is there a medical condition contributing to your fall? Do you have an infection at the moment? Is there something working on your system which would then contribute to you having your fall, or your blood pressure? We would have a look at your footwear, okay, to ensure that your footwear was the best and most supportive. We would look at your environmental issues, so having a look at trip hazards and lighting and lots of things in relation to your environmental hazards as well. Okay, so there's lots and lots of things that kind of feed into this, as well as your vision and your hearing. So we would kind of give you a full MOT to think about, okay, what contributed to this fall and how can we prevent it from happening in the future, and ensuring that you have that falls action plan for if a fall was to happen, and then having this tip of, okay, if it was to happen, I know how I would rise from the floor. Okay, so that's a lot of information to take in, but it is vital that we consider all of these things. And if you're over the age of 65, or you have relatives over the age of 65, it's very important to do sort of prevention rather than cure, okay? So thinking about these principles as early as possible really can help as you go along, you know, in the future. Okay, now if you are wondering, oh well, I'm not very sure of what services are in my area, I cover the Scottish borders, but like this advice can go nationwide, is what you can do is you can go on to the Telecare self-support guide, and that's on the NHS Inform website. And if you go on to that, it can then notify you of what support systems are available within your area. Okay, if you're within the Scottish borders and you think, okay, falls is a bit of an issue for us, or we're wondering for some advice on falls prevention, then please get in touch with me at Home Physio by Nicola. So you can contact me on 077 866 3470, or you can send me a wee email at nicola.coburn@homephysionicola.co.uk. So I hope all of that information has been useful to you. If you would like to pop any comments down below for feedback on this video, or anything that you would like me to talk through in the future, I would really appreciate that, because I want to make sure that all of the content that I'm putting on the channel is useful to yourselves. So tune in for next week. Next week we are going to break down all of these sort of multifactorial risk assessment things that we would go through, which I've touched on briefly there. And the tip next week is going to be thinking about environmental hazards. Okay, so thank you for tuning in, and thank you for watching. Remember to subscribe, give me a like, and turn on notifications so that you don't miss next week's tip. Thanks very much. Bye bye.